Now, as far as how you grew up, though, in all sincerity, you didn't have air conditioning, right? It was. How big was the house you grew up in?
It was a small house. We lived in a number of homes.
Okay.
We lived in 2-room houses,
Yeah.
And there was a time that my parents, we all lived in one room in my aunt's house.
Okay.
So it has been a journey of stretching rooms and watching rooms close in around you. It was not a 4-bedroom bungalow with a white picket fence.
Were you raised with a mother and father present, or who raised you?
You know, that's a good question and an important question, because rearing is such an important part of all of our lives. It helps to create the culture that shapes our thinking. I was not raised in a home with a mom and a dad. I lived with my great-grandparents,
Yeah.
and when my great-grandmother passed away, I went to live with my great-aunt. And that's where I spent literally all of my life.
Where was your mom?
My mom was really in close proximity, and this is really interesting in the South, because there's a little bit of a cultural difference that maybe didn't happen in the northern cities or western cities. My mother lived right across the street. Mm-hmm. Now, I ate 3 meals a day at my mother's house, but I never stayed with my mother.
Really? Now, where was your dad?
My dad was there, but my mom was divorced after, I think, maybe 15 years of marriage or so. And then she was on her own with all of us. So I didn't have that constant father there to, give me that fatherly guidance that one would really need. Now,
you grew up with a lot of adversity. I mean, you obviously financially weren't that well off, and you were, but you were raised by a family. A family's help. With you growing up with a financially impoverished situation, how did you deal with that adversity, or what was it like knowing that your life basically consists of working on this in this cotton field, and what was that like?
When I think of sameness, that's what I call it, because even in the 21st century, there are people that deal with sameness. It never changes. You sit in your grandpa's front porch, you look as far as you can see, and all you see is the same thing over and over and over again. And you can believe that this is literally all that you will ever see. So growing up in that environment, it was one of this extraordinarily sameness. Mm-hmm. There wasn't these moments of great jubilance, anything like that. You knew what tomorrow would look like.
Okay.
Because that's how it had looked for your parents, mm-hmm. your grandparents, and your great-grandparents before them. But at the same time, Clay, it's important to understand that even though that sameness was there was always that glimmer of hope that shone through that sameness. And that's what made a difference.
So what are these things? How does this relate to your pastor? I know you brought some items with you.
Yeah, picking cotton for most people is something that never happened. It happened on page 56 in a book.
Okay, yeah.
But this is not page 56. This is not a book. This is a weight. This is how you would pick cotton morning till sundown, put your cotton in a sack. It goes up to the trailer to be weighed. This determines how many pounds of cotton you had in your sack. And most young teenage guys were required by their parents to at least pick 200 pounds of cotton a day.
Okay.
And what I tell people in the 21st century, that's a lot of white pinpoint Oxford shirts.
What time are you getting up in the morning?
In the morning?
Yeah, to pick the cotton. What time did you start to get 200 pounds?
The moon is still out.
So it's like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning?
No, I think there was a complicity between the Big Ben clock and the people that own the fields.
Okay.
Because the clock went off and the rooster went off all about the same time.
Okay.
Like around 4 o'clock in the morning.
So you're getting up at 4 in the morning, and then how long did you work every day?
Until the sun went down.
So maybe till 6 at night?
It could be.
So 12 or 13 hours?
It could very well be.
And, okay, and did you have an option here? I mean, could you do something else? Could you say, hey, I opt out. I'm not really into the whole cotton thing.
Options did exist, but they were very rare.
Okay.
For most of the people in my world, especially at the age that I was at the time, the only option you had was working in the fields. Even kids from the city, African-American kids, would come into the country where we live to work in the fields. It was the choice.